Welcome to Kolorflow Conversations, where we flow freely, speak boldly, and connect colorfully. I am Uakeisha, and this is
Tikisha.
Come On, Tikisha, and sing it. And we welcome you to our girl chat.
Yes.
It's been 7 days since our last real girl chat, and during that time, my friend had a birthday.
Yes. Happy birthday to me.
On what day was it?
It was Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Just a few days ago. I'm fresh in my 49.
How you feel?
I feel wonderful.
You know, I had somebody recently, new client came to me, and I think she's going into her 40s, and she asked me, how did I feel, because she's feeling, I guess, nervous about going into her 40s, and I was like, girl, my 40s have been my best years. What do you think?
I think for me, I might be able to say that going forward in my 50s might be my best.
Okay.
I think my 40s has been a period of transformation and really finding out who I am.
Okay.
So I don't want to put them as my best, but I definitely see me now stepping into that version of me. But I felt like that when I turned 30.
And I say that even with the what people will call bad things that happened to me in my 40s, I take everything as a lesson, and that's why I'm like, even the lessons I've learned, it's been my best. I've felt the best. I've had the best experiences. I met the best people. I've released the best people. The people that was best to be released.
Yep.
It's just been. So I'm already 49. So this year I'll step into 50, probably feeling, okay, how can I go higher than what I felt in my 40s? But yeah, you definitely you look good.
Thank you. Okay.
I used to think that when our parents was in their 40s, that was old.
Oh yeah, I thought that was old too. And I say that now, like, I'm like, oh, because me and my mom were 20 years apart. So now I remember when I came home and was pregnant at 18.
Yeah.
I was just like, she was 38. No wonder she was just like, because I talk about being a grandma, but, you know, I'm still too young for that.
Yeah, and she was a young grandmother.
Yes.
Yeah. So I can see that.
And my mom was sassy all the way
through. All the way to the end.
Yeah.
She was.
Yeah.
So you made her a young grandma.
And she was not having it. And she would tell me, I ain't that kind of grandma. And
I didn't know she told you that.
She said that all the time. I'm not that kind of grandma. Like,
what did you want her to do? Babysit?
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
And she was like,
No.
She never babysat?
Very rarely.
That's why your village came.
Yes.
Okay.
And my dad, you know, because it was his son.
Yeah.
So my dad played a major role, but my mom, like, once they were divorced and stuff, my mom was just like, I'm not doing that. And I also get it too, because she worked in retail, so sometimes she would work 10 to 10. And my mother's characteristics, like, during that time, she was really dedicated. Like, it took her a long time to step into realizing to put herself first versus pouring into work.
And think about this. She was the age range where we are now. So, and I can feel her, because I ain't trying to be nobody babysitter either.
Yeah.
So I you probably didn't understand it then, though.
I don't think it ever bothered me.
Oh, good. Okay.
I didn't understand it like I do now.
Yeah.
Being that age, but it never once bothered me. I thought it was funny. It's still funny to me when she said that. Like, I can literally hear her voice. I ain't that kind of grandma.
She said, I ain't that kind of grandma.
Yeah, she like, I'm going to pray for you. I'm going to be there in every other way that you need.
She was living her life.
Yes.
Girl.
I literally remember getting ready to go to Georgia to celebrate one of my friend's birthday, and my mom told me she was going to watch my son, and at the last minute, she girl was just like, no, I'm not doing that.
Are you serious?
And my dad ended up doing it. Yes. Yes.
Oh my God, that's
But
so
by
funny.
the time, and she was like that with my oldest niece. By the time the middle one came, is when she stepped into
her grandmother
role.
role. Yeah, and you can
But
see
looking
that,
back, she was, late 50s, early 60s, that it made sense
More
for
sense,
her to step more into that role.
Yeah, and she was ready for that.
Yeah.
Child.
And my mother lived a very full life, yachts and all types of extravagant things.
Yeah,
so I can see, because where I'm at now, and especially what's been going on and like my week and stuff, I wish Jordan would. Okay? Because I'm going to be like, I ain't that kind of grandma.
Oh, I know I ain't that kind of grandma, because I'm waiting on the one I got.
Like,
the last one in the house to graduate, because I'm about to be gone.
Like, my grandbaby going to have everything it need and some. It's going to be spoiled, but it's going to be that love and distance. I'm about to get on a flight.
Your mother's dating life after divorce, did it bother you?
Yeah, my mama dated a dude probably like my age, and here I am talking about I want to be a cougar. I ain't nothing but Dorothy.
Cause you said this is like a couple of episodes ago.
Yeah,
when
I have no problem.
When you
with
date
that.
younger, you was like, yeah. I'm like,
I remember. And this is funny. I remember one of my friends was just like, "Well, how young would you go?" I mean, like, what if he was like 22? I said, "Well, how much money you got?"
You know what? I don't think I would go younger again. Nah, I'm straight.
I think for me, it's not necessarily based on the number. It's more so your soul. How old is your soul?
And that's a good point. Yeah.
I know that I turned 49, but I believe my soul is much older. And I know many people in my life who are in their 40s and 30s, but their soul is much younger.
Yes, absolutely.
So
you're right.
For me, it's not, I'm like Aaliyah, like age ain't nothing but a number. It's really like, what is your characteristics?
Maybe I should say that then. Because character, I was just having this conversation, I can't remember who, this was last week too, about the character of the person that I am with means so much more to me now than
probably ever had.
Yeah. Before, like I just thought, oh, he a good guy, he go to church. But the character of you, like if you lie about a little something, then come on,
okay.
And I just be thinking about stuff of my past, like, oh, your character never fit me anyway. So, and with being younger, because they say we already more mature, even if your soul not more mature, your mindset as a woman is most likely more mature. When I think about women that I know in my circle and outside of my circle, they got their stuff together. Most of them are homeowners. Most of them have a 9-to-5 great job or business or both. And I see them date people that don't. And I don't know if the word is, equal.
Because what popped in my head is match. I see where you're going with
match
it.
them.
Yeah.
It's always like a mismatch there where it's like, he may not be there. And I've dated people that was a mismatch with me, financially, whatever. And I seemed to be okay with it. But now I understand, like, it's hard to be a mismatch with somebody like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you add on your character and your soul and your integrity, I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm good, so I get that. But yeah, your mother, she dated younger. She enjoyed her full life.
Yeah. And I remember, and I'm still working on myself, because I remember when old boy came to the memorial and went to reach into me, and I'm like, you don't get a whole little youngin'?
remember that.
Like,
I was like, why did you look at that man like that? That was so.
And my mom moved in with him.
I remember she lived with him. Yeah.
But why I was like that in that particular moment wasn't necessarily based on the age, but I remember when whatever they was going through, my mom kept her business private with me. She probably shared with my sister, but our relationship was different. But when she was moving out, I remember us helping her move and him just sitting at that table.
He was there?
So you think...
That's the thing, though, with family.
Yeah, and with people that you love. Like, you don't forget. Like, the person who's in it, they normally will forget. And then me, I forget a lot of stuff, but that I don't forget. I'm going to remember. I remember on this day, I'm going to run down everything that you did to hurt my friend.
That's why it's good to not tell people things that go on in your relationship, because they don't forget. While you done forgave them, moved on, and everything. Like, when I was going through my thing, I never told you until maybe a week before it all went down, because you was just like, yeah, no, I don't believe that.
Yeah.
I was like, girl, I'm telling you. And you was like, I just have a hard time seeing that. Yes. And I was like, because
I stood 10 toes down for this man over my friend.
Yeah, you stood 10 toes down, and based on me,
how you have presented it.
I never presented, even though he thought I was just telling everybody he was this, whatever. I never told, not only you, I never shared with my family, no friend, anybody, what we dealt with or what we went through.
So, like, let me ask you about that, because sometimes I feel like it's a fine line, and this is one of the things that I had really worked on while I was on my trip, was that because we talked about, like, oversharing and communicating, how sometimes we do this to build a community, like, for support, and sometimes it's for validation. Like, looking back, do you wish you would have shared more with whoever you might have thought was wise counsel in your life? Or do you still feel like you shouldn't have shared anything? Because I also feel like now, I'm very transparent. I'm an oversharer, and I'm really trying to step into using more discernment on when I need to share certain information versus just blabbing it all out. Which sometimes I struggle with that, because you my girl. So I'm sitting here on the podcast and I'm blabbing it out. Now everybody know my PMS struggles.
If I had to do it all over again, I would do that situation the same way. I would not share. And I say that because when I think about if I had anybody who at that time that I can trust to, be there for me, give me wise counsel. I know a lot of people, but I don't think that I was in a place where felt like I could trust anybody to, help me get through it.
And sometimes, and I feel exactly how you feel, because even though I shared my struggles with you, you didn't have the tools to help me through it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So a lot of times, just because you know a lot of people and surrounded by people that love you, it turns more into like the gossip session.
Exactly.
Because you can't help me through this.
Exactly.
Like,
And
I was yearning for a mentor.
And I think that's why it was such a big deal in our community that this marriage blew up, because it was like, well, y'all presented yourselves like, and I was like, because I felt I had to. I didn't really feel like I had anybody that I could share, because of course my mother and my sister was going to hold a grudge if I said this, and his family probably would hold a grudge if he said that or whatever. So I would do it the same way.
I also feel like overall, based on me knowing you, that you're really a private person in general. I feel like I'm private, but I'm private with certain people. I
That part.
know,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Like with you, I may more have more vomit of the mouth than I would with other people in my life.
Mm-hmm.
But I definitely feel like you're very private, and I've always respected that about you. And I think, and I'm sure, like you always say, how you have the gift of discernment, but I don't know if you realize the role that that plays in
Mm.
when you share things.
Mm. Mm.
Because a lot of times we think the gift of discernment is just based on our surroundings with others.
Yeah, yeah,
But your gift was really internal and letting you know to work through it on
yeah,
your own.
yeah, and even after I separated and divorced, I still like I shared more with you because I had to. I needed a like
You
a
needed
third.
somebody
I needed
to
a third.
talk to.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I needed
and
a
you
third
needed a
party.
confidant.
Yeah, I needed a
Is it
confidant.
confidant or
Confidant.
confidant?
But I also knew.
Wait a minute, let me tell you this. So I went to a wellness and spa resort. This for y'all who don't know, because my friend, of course, she know that. So in one of the classes, the girl was throwing out these words, and I'm like, "Where is my dictionary?" Because you know, I typically keep a dictionary with me because I'd be like, I want to use bigger. I don't want to say bigger words, but the correct words versus just the basic. But this girl's vocabulary was so good, and then the instructor was like, "Yes, that's a good word," and I'm sitting there like,
What that mean?
"What that mean? I don't even have my phone to look it up." What?
Yeah, confidant. You were a good confidant for me after it happened because I knew the type of person you were. You were not. You never took sides on anything.
Yeah.
All through the years of us being friends, you never took sides on anything. And if I was wrong, you would tell me, and we would still be friends. So I knew that if I said, "This is what's going on now," and how do I? You would always give me sound advice, like whether I liked it or not.
That's one of my best qualities, y'all.
Yeah, you would give me, and that's what he didn't know because he probably thought everybody was like against him, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But even through you being disappointed in him or the situation, you gave
I
me.
never did bash.
Yeah, you never bashed, and you even told me if you want to go back, I'm not gonna look at you in a, you know. And I was like, "Girl, what?" But you always. But so I knew at that time it was like levels to when I knew I could share with somebody that can help me. I needed sound instruction, and you gave me sound instruction. My attorney, who I love to this day, gave me sound instruction. Like, girl, why are you arguing? Like, why are you, you know? And I was like, but, and she was just like, you're going to start your life over. And you're also the police officer that helped me, that arrested me one of the ladies. Yeah. Everybody said the same thing. That gave me sound. Another story for another day. But the sound advice was there was like, you're going to be okay. And I kept hearing that in my head, like, okay. So you gave me sound instructions. So I had to clear my mind of, and that's what people don't need to know. Like, you got to clear your mind when so many people come at you thinking girl, I would do this, or you got to clear your mind of that. I would have never got to where I am right now.
Let me tell you, in one of the classes that I took, it was she said yin yang. I've always said yin yang.
That's what we always hear.
Yes, and you know, the masculine and feminine. So one of her examples was, and I thought about myself, and she was just like, she was getting married because she wanted her husband to save her. And I've always thought, like, when I looked at marriage and what I was expecting, it was the same thing. Like, taking me, you ain't gonna know this, I'm about to be like E40, Captain Saver. But it's like, I wanna be saved. Like, that's how I always was, like, viewing it. But she was just like, you know, he didn't know that. You're putting these expectations on someone else. And what does it mean, you know, for someone to save you? But she was just like, after her divorce and going through it, it made her do so much self-reflection. And she's just like, she's the happiest that she's been. And she said even like in her first relationship, she told the story of whoever she was dating was a kind, grounded person. He was really balanced. So she said that they had got into it. She filled up a pot of water. She never said it was hot. Let me say that because I wanted to be like, girl, was it boiling? But she said, so it wasn't hot. I know that for sure because she said they got into it. She filled up a pot of water and she ran after him and threw it on him. And he reacted and was just like, why did you do that? Like,
still calm. Still calm, yeah.
And she was just like, that's when she realized that she has some work to do and to shift some things in her.
When you can learn to control your emotions, which I've learned to do, because even like after my divorce and whatever, and I've dated, like I said, I always dated really kind gentlemen after. But even if they made me mad or whatever, I've learned to control my emotions in a way that I've never had before. Like things I would have lashed out on before, I just, whatever. I just don't, it's just, once you learn to control your emotions, that's like one of the number one things.
It definitely is. And I'm telling you, like, that session with her was very impactful. And one of the things that stood out to me was that she was just like, a lot of women talk about like, I'm in my masculine energy, but they don't realize is most of the time when they're saying that, we're in the unhealed version.
The unhealed version.
Of the masculine energy.
Yeah, the unhealed version. The unhealed version. And I was talking to a friend of mine yesterday. We was texting. And it was a brief text, and I said something about I can feel when I'm having a conversation with someone, and a part of them isn't healed, and and it's not my place to be like what you need to. I just listen now because a lot of times people have to get things out. And the unhealed version, because a lot of we all got an unhealed part of us that we're working on. So it ain't like I'm perfect. Or
right.
I can just acknowledge.
It's a journey. Yeah.
I can acknowledge what I need to heal though. A
lot of people cannot. They're in denial. Yeah. And there was a girl in the class who was like that. At the end, she was just like, I've been pointing the finger at so many other people in my life, not realizing what I needed to work on.
You have to learn to take accountability for your own stuff. I can look in the mirror at myself and know, dang, Keisha, you still got work to do on this part of your life, on this part. And I'm okay with that because because I can acknowledge it, I think that's why I can feel the energy of other people. When they got something unhealed and we having a conversation, I'm like, oh, that's an unhealed part of them that they are doing. And if God give me a word for them, then yes, I'll share.
Right.
But I don't think it's always my job to act like I'm I'm so healed, and let me come help you because I done healed from. Just because I've been divorced and I'm good with my situation don't mean that it's always my thing to come tell somebody else who's been divorced, this is what you need to do, because their situation may not be like mine. But I can give a word if he drops it in my spirit, this is what they need. So, yeah, I can take accountability for mine. You could tell me, Keisha, you need to work on that. And I'd be like, you right. Yeah. I can accept hearing that.
Yeah, I mean, and if they want to go back and look at previous episode, our most impactful episode with that was about the empathy.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
You were not angry. It wasn't like, well, girl, who you think you are telling me? You was just sat there like, wow, like, wait a minute. And probably started running through examples in your head.
I did.
On how to be... Because it's like I said, you're very sympathetic and you're caring and you just like, I'm going to pray for you. But I'll be like, can you put my shoes on for just this one moment?
And
like,
then I'll try.
Yes. But before you didn't.
I didn't.
You didn't try at all.
I didn't even know.
Yeah.
But when you told me, but time and place, just like I said, It wasn't my time. It wasn't time for me to tell you when I was married that I'm going through this, and for me to hear from you.
Yes, preach to him.
But
Time
after,
and place.
but
Ecclesiastics is a season
yes,
for everything.
But after, I was like, now I need to hear your instruction. So all them years we was friends, you knew I wasn't empathetic. You let me not be empathetic. You never said anything until the conversation came out where it was time to receive
where it was time.
And
where
I, was like, yeah.
too was like how you said, I just watched a squirrel jump from, I'm sorry. It just threw me off because I thought he was a bird. He did that jump from that to that other tree. But just like you said, we're on the phone and or whatever, just encounter talking to these other people, having conversations, and it's on us heavy like what it is, but it's not always our place.
It's not always our place.
So I listened to Spirit, and at that point in time, it was just like I was Spirit led to have that conversation with you.
Yeah.
Not that I could have had it 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't a new trait.
It wasn't. That's why I was like, I started thinking back, which I reflect now a lot. I think when you talked about this, probably off camera, I don't know, where I think about stuff from my past years ago. Things that happened years, and I'll be like, oh. I'll be like, oh, that's why. Even with my divorce, you know, he did his thing, and I don't take any blame for what he did.
Right, okay? But
I reflect on myself like, what could I have done differently? Not better, differently.
Exactly.
Not better, but differently. Not that I think me and him was meant to be together, because I don't. But what could I have done differently as a person to make me better?
Yes.
To make the relationship better. Which is why I think after I only attracted kind people because of
you worked on yourself.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But I'm
instead of placing constant blame on, you know, like you said, what he did was what he did.
Yeah.
But you focused on how to be better, how to heal, what lessons you needed to take away from. And that's how I have done with every relationship in my life, where it's man or woman. Mm-hmm. I've stepped away with what lesson that I need to learn.
Yeah. I do that now with every, because before it was romantic relationship, but now I do that with every encounter that I have with anybody. Even the other night, I was working and something happened when I was at work, and I reflected on it because I felt like I could have did something better. I was wrong. And it bothered me to the point when I woke up, I was still thinking about it. And then I literally had to pray, ask God to forgive me and let me repent so this could be removed from my mind. So if that, and then it wasn't even like something huge. It wasn't even something huge, but when the Holy Spirit deal with you on things, it
feels huge.
Yeah,
like,
it felt huge.
The prick is like, okay, it hurt. And especially, and I can totally relate to that. Like, when I would go to sleep and I wake up and I'm like, it's a new day. I'm supposed to have a renewed mind, and I'm still thinking about yesterday.
I'm still thinking about it. So I was like, if that ever happens again, and I'll tell you about off camera, but whenever it happens again, I'll know, because we both be trying to be intentional about our day, our daily bread.
Listen.
Okay, so
can I tell you
go
something?
ahead.
So this morning, I got in today. This morning on the car ride home, I was telling my sister how things were looking when I first got there, and I was in a moment of a little stress.
Yeah.
And I told her, I said, but Keisha always reminds me my daily bread. So I just have gotten more in the habit of just saying that prayer, like the whole, you know. And I said, so my biggest thing that I've learned, what I'm going to step into as in my 49th new year, is to be present and in the present moment. And while we do have to plan for our future, sometimes that planning doesn't need to be as big and or add on stress and worries, especially if it's nothing we can resolve in the moment. So I literally said to her, I said, I just kept saying my daily bread, and it brought me comfort. I was able to relax. I said, Keisha says that to me all the time. And she was just like, that's what that means? And I said, yes, that's exactly what that means. And it just made me think like how we hear these messages, but we don't necessarily know how to apply them to our lives on a daily basis, even at a minimum level.
Yeah, minimum level. Yeah, yeah. This young lady, Sunday, like, I saw her and she came and confessed. She was so excited. She was like, girl, I wandered in the church today and I feel so good. And I was like, that is so good. And she said, this is what got me. She was like, I was about to crash out because of a situation, and I ended up pulling in this parking lot, and I was like, I'm about to go in. And she got there early, and then she told me, I didn't grow up in church. I only went on Easter. But, you know, they made me feel so welcome. I was like, that's so good. She said, and then the lady let me play the tambourine, girl. She showed me a video. She was all in the aisles, you know, going, enjoying it. But then she says to me, when the minister got ready to preach, he said, turn to 1 Corinthians or whatever. She didn't know how to find it. She felt like she was getting left out. And she kind of like was like, forget it, you know. So I said to her, don't get frustrated. And this is where people get lost in the sauce. Because you be so excited, and she is a soul that is thirsty for God. And I said, don't be like that. I said, go back, take you a notebook, write down the scripture he said, and take your time and find it. And I was giving her like little nuggets. And then I said, she didn't have a Bible though. She was a Bible at the church. I sent her a Bible. So I said, this is what you do. So I was like, people can't get lost when, you know, not knowing these small things.
But this is the thing. So, and I remember having this conversation with my mother, and now I primarily use my mother and my grandmother's Bible, and my mother went through and put tabs on each one. But even now, I'm just like, she put all of this effort in that, and she still can't find it. So I grew up in the Lutheran school. With a religion class, we had to learn the books of the Bible.
I remember I had to learn. I should have known about it. Like
so I can sing it like a song. But even necessarily, if I was to go pick my Bible up now, I may not know where to go. But when you are in a setting sometimes, and you are surrounded by people who you think know God, who you think know that Bible, who's flipping right to it, you feel a certain way. But you know what? Like I told my mama, the table of contents is there for a reason.
And I told her that. I said, you can also go to the table of contents. I said, don't feel like
don't feel embarrassed.
Yeah, I said,
or that you gotta be like, I know this is towards the end of the Bible, so let me flip, and I'm spending all that time. I'm like, to this day. And I ain't saying I, know my Bible like that, but I know my Bible, good enough for me where I'm at right now. But to this day, when I pick that up and I know it's somewhere where I want to go, I'm still going to the alphabetical part. And I know that I can start out with my little song. Genesis, Exodus.
No, y'all had a song?
I made a song, because I'm musical.
Yeah.
I swear I'm musical. But that's how
she don't play no instruments.
Yeah, I play no. It's in my head.
It's in her head.
Yes, but that's how I learned it. I had to sing it in order to be able to know where it's at. So that's how
I look. I told her. I said, just write it down first. I said, he's not gonna stop talking.
Yeah.
I said, write it down, and then you find it after, and you don't have to read along. You can listen. You can listen and read it later. But listen to the message, and she was just like, thank you for that.
Because I think in a moment you don't think about that, because and I say this lightly, But when people go to church out of routine, certain things is just routine. And when you're new coming into it and you don't know the routine, and the Bible is new to you.
Yeah. I want her to lose that fire that she had, because she was like, girl, I'm the new tambourinist, and I think I'm going to join the
I like that, tambourinist.
I said, tambourinist?
I like that. I like when we make up these words.
She made up a word, and I ain't even tell her there ain't no such thing. I just was like,
because it is not.
Right. I said,
tambourinist. All these words that we use, somebody made them up one day. So, tambourina.
She said, I'm the new tambourinist. So, I sent her some stuff, and I said, don't feel like you got to be like everybody else. I said, you get it how you get it. But, girl, yeah.
That was really good advice, too. Like, just write it down, because you can always come back to it.
I said, you ain't got to read it along with them. I said, they going to say everybody turn to it.
Yes.
I said, you can turn to it when you get to it. And she was just like, okay, good, because I just felt like, left out after the worship and the praise.
And then that was the thing. She felt so full.
And then she started. Yes. Then it dipped.
Yep.
Then it dipped. And I was like, nope, you go back up high. Go back up high. I said, you go back in there. I said, you just take a little notebook, and you write down what scripture it is. As you listen, you can go ahead and find it. You go to the table of contents, and then it tell you what page, and then she was like, she said, okay, all right, thank you for that. People need a little extra push.
Yeah.
They need a little extra,
Yeah, just a reminder, some comfort. Sometimes you just need a comfort, like, to know, like, you know what? You're right, that's okay. Like, I can do that. This is how I can go in and then look at it versus her feeling like overwhelmed, like I didn't know where to go. I ain't even got my own Bible.
Let me ask you this, because I had a conversation this week, and I was asked, do I offer Christ to people, or it was something about, it was really about people I dated. Like, have I talked to them about like where I am now, or do I offer Christ to people? And I thought about that. Do you? And when the word offer,
because I was getting ready to say, like, I don't even know if my brain comprehends what that is, and I think
maybe that's what my thing was.
And I think my brain doesn't comprehend it, because when I hear that, I hear like the doors of the church are open.
Yes. So that's what I was. That's how I understood it too, because I was like, do I offer Christ to people? Because when the church opened the doors of the church, that's offering Him, inviting them. So how do you? My question to you is, because the conversation I was having, we offer Him different ways. How do you, if you do, offer Him to people?
The best way I can do this is walk you through if I'm doing a session.
Okay.
So when I do my sessions, for the most part, I always ask if they believe in God. So that is when I always start out with. I start with that, and I do a prayer, because my thing is, I don't necessarily want to turn away people who don't believe in God, because I feel like, for me, I'm not here to force that on you, but I'm here to explain to you my relationship with God. And if you adapt to that, and it make me think about Brittine with the atheist.
Yeah.
Where it's just like, so I'm always in a place from that. But I put it out there, and it's all over my website. Like, if me talking about God bothers you, so I feel like as soon as you're in the session with me, I'm inviting you. Yeah, okay. The doors of the church are open.
Now, what if you're not in a session, though, and you are just...
I feel like, Keisha, I'm always in a session.
Even with just...
Like, right now, to me, this is a session.
Yeah.
I feel like, because I work my gift all the time, I'm never not in a session. People like to think that we just be regular kicking it, but spirit be heavy on me.
And so my explanation for what it was for me is, kind of similar to you. I don't do...
I know you don't do,
but my conversations, if people have a conversation with me now, my lifestyle choices, they're going to see the fruit.
Yeah, we are never having conversations without God. So I don't, without God in the midst of it. So I don't know how to. The doors of the church are open because they're instantly open because my conversation, I'm bringing some type of biblical reference, or I'm just talking about God in general.
In general, okay. So I feel like believe whatever, that when you or I do that, that is kind of like inviting them in, because I don't invite everybody in, to my circle, my world, my close to me. But I always, when I meet people, like the other night, after the girl said that, and having a separate conversation where we were talking about the Princess of Sussex is doing this thing on Netflix. What's her name? Megan. Love Megan.
Mm-hmm.
And we was laughing about that, and this guy was like, "Y'all talking about Prince?" And I was like, "No, we ain't talking about Prince. We talking about the Prince of Peace." And we just went to a whole nother. He was like, "All right, he died." Yeah, that's exactly how the conversation went. It went from talking about the princess to me joking like, "Nah, you dipping in," but we talking about the Prince of Peace. And he said something, then the girl, and we was all intertwining about God.
But see, this is the thing, the way my life is structured now. I only have those kind of conversations. Like, I'm always placed where I'm in a conversation divinely aligned where God is intertwined in it.
Yeah.
I don't really have, and we talked about this before, where I was just like, I feel like I spend more time in a spiritual realm than earthly. And I even noticed that this week. Where it was just like the conversations that I had, the people that, I was drawn to or was drawn to me, God was in the midst of all of that. So that's why I feel like that's why I say that all the time. Like, I'm never not, because I feel like I never just have what people would call regular conversations.
Do you know the only time I notice a regular conversation come out of you? When you talk about you want a soft life and you want a man with money.
You know what? You're right. Because everything.
That's the only time that you get kind of earthly, where you like, I want this, I want that, I want somebody to take care of me. Like, that's the only time you really get like.
And you want to know what's wild about that? Is that was like the focus
on your wellness.
Yes. The money and the finances, and me pulling in a party to save me, and not realizing how abundant Christ is in my life. It's just like sometimes, we pour so much that we forget these things for ourselves. And when I say we, I ain't really talking about Keisha right now, because one thing about my sister friend right here, she ain't gonna forget, oh no, God's gonna provide me my daily bread. Where I'm gonna be the one like, girl, he gonna give you this and I'm gonna do all of that.
Takisha will have a whole crash out. And I don't know if you be, because we don't be on the phone. It'll be through a text. And you'll be like flipping out. And when I tell you that, I'll probably be cleaning the house like, and I come read your text and be like, well, you asking for your daily bread? Then I go right back to like, I don't know if you know how calm I be.
Oh, I know. I know. And I be mad because I be like, I don't want you to be calm. I kind of want you to crash out with me, but that's like, your role in my life is the role that I play in everybody that I encounter.
Oh, God. I literally do not crash out with you. And I be like, this girl.
Not even a little bit. Sometimes there's people in my life where I still get them a little crash out. But you do not give me no crash out at all.
Because my belief is so strong in what is happening for us that I don't even the worst of the worst things that we've discussed, I just be like, he gonna work it out.
Literally. And this is the thing. I can feel the calmness.
Really?
I can feel
Oh,
it.
okay, because I didn't know if you could feel that.
I could feel the calmness.
Okay.
And I think that's the part that I don't like. Because I'm just like, why is she so calm? Like, give me 5% because you be 110% calm.
I do.
And I'm like,
I do.
so when we talk about, or on that I'm about to say on the podcast, on the episode with Janaea Black, and you was just like, you couldn't have done this with anybody else. Like, God placed us. And I really believe that, as well for me. I don't know if I say it that often, but I'm like, I know God put you in my life to remind me to be calm. Now, while you might not be able to work through some of the things that you can always bring me back to remind me to be in this present moment and to center and ground myself. You are my root chakra. You remind me to stay grounded and whatever I need to do to bring myself back, and I appreciate that.
I believe when you planned your birthday trips, well, you didn't plan first one, that was planned for you.
Yes!
Thank you, girl!
Yes, girl! Because that was, let me tell you, can we just talk about that briefly?
Yeah.
Because it was an answered prayer.
Mm-hmm.
I do not envy what other people have, and I don't want certain things just because someone else have it. But when I've seen hotels decorated and stuff, I've always been like, oh my God, that is such a beautiful experience, something that I want to experience. Not that I'm envious or that I'm angry, but it's been something. And quite honestly, for me, some people look at it and be like, oh, I want my man to do that, and I can't believe that man doing that. I just wanted it done for me, period. It didn't matter because I want to feel loved. I don't put on where the love needs to come from.
Yeah.
So when and then, she had got the room just for me, and I'm like, you ain't staying? Like, you need to stay like this. I'm coming in town, like, stay in the room so we can have our sit up and have our girl talk.
Yeah.
But anyway, so when we going to the door and she give me this showroom, and I'm like, what? Like, I don't want to, my friends have spoiled me. So as simple as me using the key to open my door, I didn't want to open the door. Like, and when I walked in and I saw that she was so intentional, it was balloons everywhere, the decoration. It was even a backdrop for me to take pictures.
Was it? Oh, I didn't see that.
I didn't post that.
Okay.
Yes, but everything she did was very intentional. And then my journal, and it had Jeremiah 29:11 on there, which I had bought her that shirt in September, and she probably didn't even remember. And I gave it to her, and it was just like,
you bought her that shirt, and
I'm just not taking it to her.
Oh,
I never sent it. I just now gave it to her. So we both exchanged the Jeremiah 29:11 because that's what was on her shirt. And
there are no coincidences.
No, because she was just like, I forgot all about this. Yeah. But that moment was it was really good for me that I just felt loved, and I felt like, because I've seen this on TikTok where it was just like, I just didn't want to have to use my brain. And it's like, not that I just want to just be in the moment where I don't have to plan and think and control or tell you what to do for me. So that was my moment to just embrace it, and I cannot thank her enough for that.
Yeah, at first I thought you was about to cancel your whole birthday trips.
Yeah.
And then I was like, Lord, do not let her, because I believe that this is going to be a transition.
And it was. It was, because I was crashing out. I was spiraling, like, behind the scenes. I ain't going to tell y'all everything, but I definitely was just like, I'm white jacket. Like, I can't.
And I was like this.
I can't take it another day.
Yes,
so I'm grateful to have two or more in you,
yeah,
for those prayers to get me through and to pull me all the way out of the sunken place. Because at that point I was like digging the dirt on myself, because I needed that time with her.
Yeah.
I needed that time on my own. And that experience, you know, for me, it was confirmation for so many things that I knew on the inside already, that I was struggling with. That, so it just was just like, oh, my cup was being filled. All of the things.
We had just talked about that.
Yeah.
Needing your cup filled.
Yeah, so my cup, I felt like a fountain. I left there feeling like I was the fountain, not even a cup. I was a fountain, and everything that I could have ever imagined, I experienced. And I remember being so upset because the one thing I wanted to do for my birthday was take a hot air balloon ride.
And that, you was upset.
And I was so upset when it was canceled because of the wind, because I was like, I mean, I don't know what it's like over in Phoenix, but over here, it ain't even really that windy. So
you would get up in that air, you was gonna see.
So I'm confused, you know. But that cancellation, and I didn't even realize this until I got on the plane this morning. That cancellation is what opened up the opportunity for me to have that one-on-one session.
Oh yeah. See?
Because if it wouldn't have been canceled, so God already knew. He was setting me up, because that session, it transformed my life in a way where she didn't tell me anything that I didn't know, but I had the mentor that confirmed what I knew, and it just brought it all out where I could see it. You know, other people sometimes see the light in you and you don't see your own light.
That's a word, friend.
Yeah. Sometimes other people see it. People will see it and tell me these things, and you deserve it, and you so great, and thank you. And I don't see my own light. I feel like what I do for others, and, you know, even outside of just the sessions, just me being who I am as a giver and nurturer, it's just second nature in what I do. So I don't think anything about it. But I'm doing it, and I'm not doing it for myself. And so when you're looking at me and you see that light, not even realizing that I done turned it off, you know, because it's only on for others. It's almost like a way of a codependency.
The thing about it, though, is staying in that place. When you leave from the trip or from the session or from wherever, you have to learn to stay there. Even if you drop a little bit, you can't go down here.
Yeah, I think,
you know what I mean?
This last 7 days in general have been the most transformative of my life.
Okay.
Because for me to find out, like, oh, so the PMS thing, like, this is really a thing. So now that I know this, the week before, I can pay attention to what I eat. I can pay attention to what my thoughts are. I can know, like, I'm not going crazy. And then the session, like, when I think of how do I know these things, just like how I didn't say to you about your situation, but it crossed my mind, but I was just like, well, I just kept pushing through that thought. Now I know that that's just a part of being intuitive. And some people are intuitive. We're coming on a close, but I'm going to say this, and this is the perfect example of why I no longer am going to think that, you know, it's anything wrong with me using my intuition, or that it's demonic, or it's coming from a bad place. On the plane, I watched Mustafa, the Lion King. On the way there, I started with The Lion King. I didn't finish it because I write so much as I'm watching the movie that I started too late on my 4.5-hour flight. So I'm going to watch Lion King today. But it worked out better because Mustafa, you know, it was his story. So now I get to see Simba's version. But anyway, Mustafa had clairsenses. Like, he could smell things. And it was because of those gifts and those senses that got him through to being the king, because he was never from a royal bloodline.
Mm-hmm.
And watching that, I was just like, girl, you not crazy. Like, this is even in a cartoon. Like, these things are real. And then during this time, like, I researched, I told you, like, King Solomon had been heavy on me. Mm-hmm. So I did a lot of reading on him, and then just other biblical people. And I feel like the Bible, like I tell you all the time, like, to me, it's like everybody journaling their own story.
Mm-hmm.
So think about, the lady said one thing that resonated with me so much in the class. And she said, once upon a time, dinosaurs roamed this earth. So think about how far we've come since having dinosaurs. Mm-hmm. So if you pull out a deck of cards and that's your tool that you're using to decipher the messages, it's nothing wrong with that, because that's how God is using your visual senses for spirit to talk to you. And I thought about like Jesus, Elijah. Like, I thought about so many different prophets in the Bible, Nathan, and Moses. They all had different tools. Mm-hmm. So it gave me so much comfort and just a peace of mind for me to be bold.
And think about Moses thought he wasn't good enough.
Yes.
And God gave him and told him you are, and brought him Aaron.
Yes.
Moses led the people, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
He thought, I got this handicap that's not going to allow me to do this.
Because he had a stutter.
He thought he couldn't talk properly.
Yeah.
And when I be reading, I be like, this is
and that's just one of the things that I struggle with, because I know when I write, I can get my words together, but when I talk, I'm saying like, just, and I be wanting to be like, wait a minute, I'm going to just text you.
When I know when you come into the club, when I be reading the stuff you write, I be like, did she copy this from somewhere? Because the vocabulary, like you were saying, you was raising your hand in that class, like, what that mean? What? Like, when you write, it's really like, amazing. I told you you're an author.
Yeah, because I take my time and I use my resources. Like, I have dictionaries.
Yeah.
I am not, you see them encyclopedias over there. I'm not afraid to look it up and see, because I'm like, I want to get it a visual, a picture through my words. Mm-hmm. And when I'm in that place and I can just use that pen, it comes.
What the man say when we write or
yes, it's like we're talking directly to God.
It's like we're talking directly to God. Every time he say that, I'd be like, okay.
I thought about that because you've said that several times, and even though I've listened to him, that part don't really like stick with me.
It don't?
No, it never sticks with me, even as a writer. But like now, because you said so much to me.
Because I listened to him so much.
Now it resonated even more. So as I was writing while I was there, I literally, when I opened up that journal that my friend gave me and I did my first entry, I was just like, I'm writing as if I'm talking to God.
He says it with every message. Every sermon. I don't know if
and I just be like, just get to it.
He be like, every message he say it when we write or say something, it's like we're talking to God.
And that is why I put so much effort, and it takes me a lot of time and hours, because what people don't know in the background is I write these daily devotions since I've been reading Proverbs every day. But Keisha, it takes me like 5 hours to do that.
Ooh, child. You love it.
And that's why I'm going to be mindful on how I say this, but I'm like, when I be working I ain't going to call it a 9 to 5 because it's a 6 to 2. But when I be working my day job and the thoughts, it's really hard for me to shift and turn that off, because I really need to whole day. I love it. So I spend those, like, even a caption.
You be writing when you working?
I write when I work. When it comes to me, I just be like, and this is what I say. I'd be like, Lord, please do not let this be a distraction from the gift of the job that you gave me. But I gotta write this down.
Oh, listen,
So
I love it.
I'd be spending hours on that stuff that people might think, but it'd be like, no, that took me 20 hours to write that down.
It'd be really good. I mean, you write so much, I have to catch up. Like literally, when I get alerts on the email, I'm like, I ain't even read the
like
last
I ain't read
thing.
yesterday.
Like, girl, I'm like, I gotta catch up, and I get moments where I just sit and read like a bunch of them at one time. Like,
I got one now that I've been writing. By the time I publish it, it's probably gonna be like a pamphlet where people gonna be like, okay, like she done wrote a book.
It's never ending. It's never ending, but it's good.
I will tell you this though, because I'm on board with the vision now, because I finally see it and I believe in myself.
Mm-hmm.
For the first time in a very long time, that in one of the workshops I was in, she said, dream big. And my dream big, I wrote, I am an author.
Come on.
Because I already am. It, because we think so far, like I need to be published. I need to be on the New York Times best-selling list.
No.
But every day I write.
You write every day.
I'm an author.
Yeah, you're an author.
Okay, y'all.
Authoress.
I like that. I'm about to put "ist" on everything. Tabarina's authoress.
Authoress. Where did I get that from? I got that from Girlfriends, because what's her name called herself an authoress. What's her name?
What is her name? The little sassy
one.
She
was like, she's an authoress.
I cannot think of her name.
Maya,
yes.
She's an authoress. So yeah, but yes, I enjoyed our conversation today.
Me too.
I'm so glad you had a great birthday trip. You refreshed, renewed mind, renewed spirit.
I have to tell myself to rest, because all I've been wanting to do is write, but I cannot deplete myself. So I am going to rest, and I'm just going to pray to God that all the thoughts stay.
Rest. Hey, we want y'all to like, listen, subscribe, share your thoughts. If you don't want to share in the comments, send us an email. Let us know what you think. If I can't even remember everything we started off talking
about. Girl, and I'm just like, we started talking about you from divorce all the way to author. Like, that's the one thing that I love about our conversations, and the fact that we literally get on here
and just flow.
I
mean, I respect the people who have topics.
I do too.
I do too. But
because sometimes I don't know about you, and I ain't trying to start a new episode, but I do look back and be like, oh, I wish I would have said this. Yeah. Or if I had thought about it, I could have added this in.
When you just said the word rest, it was something else I was about to bring up. I was like, no, I'm going to have to talk about that another time. Because it'll be another hour. And one of my friends already said, it was a guy.
That we talk too long.
He likes to watch our shorts. Well, we need you to watch the episode.
Yes, watch the episode.
So listen, listen, subscribe, share with a friend. Let us know what you think, and we'll see y'all next week.
Oh, I learned that this was something. I forgot what it was, but it was on my flight, the Delta flight.
The 5 fingers?
Yeah, it was like this. I forgot. Tanya,